Host started recording.
Okay.
Okay, a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good day to everyone present here today. A very warm welcome to OPassion Singapore Malaysia Global. My name is Jeannie Tan, your host today. OPassion was formed in November 2020 and run by a group of dedicated host team members. We had our first trial webinar on the 23rd of September 2021. And our first public webinar was on 30th September 2021 under the mentorship of Dr. Bill Williams. We meet on every Thursday. The mission of OPassion is to ignite passion for humanity, to nurture a mindset and leadership for passion and oblas, and to form passion groups for good causes. And today, of course, we have our special speaker, and he's none other than Mr. Vittel Smart. And with him, we have a gentleman, Mr. Brent Johnson. So today they'll be sharing with us about how to freeze dry food to impact humanity. And I will let Mabel or Kumaran to take away the next segment before I call upon Mr. Vittel Smart to speak.
Good afternoon, good evening. We are so blessed to have Brother Vittel Smart with us. And a little bit introduction about him. He's a Jamaican resident residing in Florida, a family man, loving husband and father, and then a seasoned business owner with 35 years of experience in management, sales, marketing, branding, and patenting. A teacher of team building, a teacher and a team building coach for sales and growth. One of his record achievement is that he brought a business from zero sale to 5 million. Brother Vidal is a humble man. He says he just wants to be remembered as hardworking, loving, caring, and a giving person who learns from his mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, and strive to be a better version of himself every single day. Today, he's going to share with us, as he has also introduced himself earlier, on this topic: how freeze drying food will impact humanity. And he has brought with him today a representative from the company for us to understand more about this freeze drying machine. So, Brother Vitel, the platform is yours. Please continue to enlighten us. This is the second time he is here to share about this with us. So, enlighten us, empower us. The platform is yours, Vitel.
Okay, thank you very much, Sister Mabel. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is your friend Vittel, and I'm here to enlighten you with some education today. I have with me Mr. Brent Johnson, which you'll hear from in a little while. And so I'm going to be sharing my screens. I want to thank you very much for this invitation and to this wonderful OPassion Singapore seminar, Mabel. And this is not the first time, and it may not be the last time either. I'll be here and here and here again. I thank you for graciously inviting me, and I accept your invitation. And so I'm going to be sharing my screen with you. Just to, let me see here. I'll share the entire screen. Okay. You see it now? Have you seen my screen? Oops.
Yes, Brother Vittel can see.
Oh, you can see, okay. Okay. So, are you hearing me now, John? You hear me plainly now, or is still a little faintish?
I can hear you.
Yeah, it's very clear now. Very clear.
Okay, very good, very good, very good. I want to say greetings to all my friends in Jamaica, in Canada, in the USA, in the UK, wherever you are. I want to say greetings to you, also all my friends in Singapore. Greetings and plenty of love and gratitude to our CEO, Mr. Ash Mufare, the tough, energetic, and fearless leader who reminds us every day that we are in it to win it. And we should never give up. And so the information that I'm going to be sharing with you is being brought to you with the compliments of Stay Strong Digital, which is the name of my company. The company with a loving, caring, and compassionate heart. I ask you to stay strong, be patient, be diligent, because we are in it to win it. Information is based on information taken from my book, completed and presented to Chris Johnson of OBless. OBless is there to eradicate poverty, hunger, starvation, corruption, get you better health care and better education. In other words, we are here to lift up humanity. And for those of us who will be working on large or even small projects for our community, our country, please have your mind focused on OBless. Let me repeat that. Please have your mind focused on OBless. This is one of my favorite products in the entire ONPASSIVE repertoire of products. And this is one of the reasons why I became a brand ambassador. This is where my heart is, and this is where my passion lies. This is where I intend to spend most of my time helping Mr. Ash Mufare to fulfill his mission of uplifting on humanity and to make this world a better place. I hope to work alongside with many of you to fulfill my mission, to fulfill this mission. Last week, we touched on this topic briefly on this topic about OBless. So let me reiterate and tell you what OBless is and what OBless is not. Now, OBless is a philanthropic platform that helps you to connect causes that matter to you with the right people to support and realize these causes. OBless is a platform that offers the crusade in the gateway to people who want to make a difference in the world. OBless is a platform that connects people seeking financial assistance to people who are capable of and willing to give. And so what OBless is not a crowdfunding company like GoFundMe. OBless is not a 501c nonprofit organization like we have here in the United States. OBless is not a company where handouts are permanently given. Although OBless is not here to offer handouts, we cannot eradicate hunger, starvation, and poverty unless we first rescue and feed people, especially the children who are the future of the world. We have to keep our children alive first before we can uplift them. To quote Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., it's all right to tell a man to lift himself up by his own bootstrap, but it's cruel to tell a bootless man to lift himself up by his own bootstraps when he has no boots. Before we can uplift, we have to feed. We have to feed a hungry child, because a hungry child cannot learn in school. And a hungry child is an angry child. So let's look at solutions for food preservation. is some of the solutions. We have canning, freezing, sugaring, salting, vacuuming, freeze drying. And today, we're going to focus our attention on freeze drying. And so the topic for discussion, how will freeze drying foods impact humanity? So the question is, what is freeze drying? So I have two answers for you. Simply put, freeze drying is a low temperature dehydration process that involves freezing the product and lowering pressure, thereby removing the ice by a process known as sublimation. Secondly, freeze drying is a method of food preservation that removes enough moisture from the food so bacteria, yeast, and molds cannot grow. These are the definitions. And so let's look at the benefits of freeze drying. Preserve your garden produce. Create emergency food supply. Make camping meals. Make healthy snacks. Preserve nearly all nutrients. Now, most of us, if not all of us, are going to be educated in a manner we have never been educated before. The education that we are going to provide you here today is designed to have an impact both on your mind and on your heart. As one philosopher, Aristotle, once says, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. So let's look at the shelf life comparisons between of different foods. The frozen food have a shelf life of about 2 years. Canned foods, 3 years. Dehydrated food, 4 years. Freeze-dried foods, up to 25 years. Let me repeat that, up to 25 years. So I'm going to give you a little scientific introduction to freeze drying. You're not behaving yourself today, huh? I got sometimes this thing trying to get this one to pop up. Okay. This was an introduction to freeze drying, which I want to bring you. Okay, here goes.
There are three primary things that destroy the nutritional value in food. One is water, another is heat, and the third is oxygen. The ideal solution to this age-old problem is a home freeze dryer from Harvest Right. As its name suggests, freeze drying is a way to take water out of the food while it's in a very cold vacuum. This process ensures that nearly all of the nutritional value remains in the food. And when properly packaged with an oxygen absorber, the food will last up to 25 years. On the other hand, the process of canning and dehydrating food uses heat to preserve it. This heat destroys nearly half of the nutritional value. And because you can't remove all of the water, the food just doesn't last longer than 3 or 4 years. Those of you that bottle and can food likely understand the responsibility you have to use proper canning techniques and procedures. Even when canning something as simple as green beans, it's important to use proper procedures. If a mistake is made, it can result in something as serious as botulism. That can be quite deadly. Because botulism and other bacteria only grow when water is present, freeze drying is the perfect way to preserve food. Freeze drying removes all of the water from the food, and without water, these organisms cannot grow. That's one of the reasons that freeze-dried food lasts up to 25 years. Scientists have long recognized that freeze drying is the best possible way to preserve food for both long-term and short-term storage. And the best part, when you're freeze drying your own food, you can be sure that it's food that your family is going to love to eat.
Okay, so there are some products that cannot be freeze dried. And let me name them: honey, mayonnaise, butter, nuts and oils, just some of them. Nut butter, pure chocolate, syrups, jams, and preserves. Products that can be freeze dried: apples, apricots, avocado, banana, blueberry, cantaloupes, just to name a few. Meats include chicken, fish, ham, hamburger, pulled pork, roast beef, sausage, steak, turkey. Those can be freeze dried. And all the vegetables: asparagus, beans, broccoli, carrots, celery, corn, eggplant, all those foods can be freeze dried. And so when we look at the freeze drying process and see how it works, we know that it is safe, and more importantly, it will last for a long, long time. And without trying to get these things here to work while we talk. So let's go through the process. And this lady is going to tell you how the process works. Pay attention. This is very educational. Those of you who have never heard it before.
With Harvest Right. Today, I'm going to take you through the entire freeze drying process from beginning to end. From prep work to packaging to rehydrating, you'll see how fun and simple freeze drying can be. It's a great way to preserve food for short-term or long-term use. Freeze dry your garden produce, your leftovers, buy when sales are on, and freeze dry to save money and to preserve the food your family loves. The benefits are endless. Keep in mind that nearly every food can be freeze dried, from fruits and vegetables to meats, dairy, eggs, and even full meals like lasagna and beef stroganoff. Before we get started, let's turn on the freeze dryer to let it get cold. Okay, today I'm going to freeze dry scalloped potatoes and ham. I'll also freeze dry raspberries, apples, and ice cream sandwiches. Let's get these prepared for the freeze dryer. I'll start by spreading the scalloped potatoes on the tray. A good rule of thumb to follow is to fill the food to no more than the height of the tray. Next, I'll prepare the ham by laying nice thick slices on the tray. Try to keep the slices under a ½ inch thick. Now our fresh raspberries. I'm simply going to place them on the tray. The great thing about freeze drying is you can place more than one item on a tray. So on the other half of this tray, I'm going to put sliced apples. I sliced these apples with an apple slicer and gave them a quick dunk in lemon water. The last thing I'm going to show you are these ice cream sandwiches. I like to use small ice cream sandwiches that are in a cellophane pouch. I'll cut the top of each pouch and put the whole thing on the tray. The slit allows the water to escape from the pouch. I'll do it quickly so that I can keep them from melting. Because the freeze dryer is nice and cold by now, we won't have a problem. Let's slide the trays in the freezer. Put the door pad in place, turn the handle completely to the right, and that's it. It's that easy. This appliance is amazing. The freeze dryer is going to freeze the food 40 or 50 degrees below zero. Then the vacuum pump will automatically turn on and create a vacuum inside the chamber. The freeze dryer gradually warms the food, the water sublimates off as a gas, and the food dries. The process takes about 24 hours. When it's done, the freeze dryer will beep. The process is entirely automatic. We'll come back tomorrow and check out our food. Okay, it's time to check our food. The freeze dryer's been running for about a day, and you can see that the screen indicates the food is dry. Let's turn off the freeze dryer. I'll open the door and take a look at the food. The food looks exactly the same as when I put it in. It hasn't changed its shape, color, or flavor. I'm going to test a few of the bigger pieces to make sure that the food is completely dry. First, I'll look at the ice cream sandwiches. Since they had the most water in them, I will check to see how hard they are and if they're wet inside. The potatoes are dry and crumbly. The raspberries look like fresh raspberries. They are so good, and they're completely dry. The apples are beautiful. They're the same color, same shape, and haven't shrunk at all. And the ham is perfect. Meats are the easiest to freeze dry. Since there's no water left in the food, I'm ready to package and store it for future use. There are 3 things that cause food to go bad: heat, water, and oxygen. The freeze dryer takes all of the water out of the food while the food is still really cold. And the way to take out all of the oxygen is to put the food in a Mylar bag and add an oxygen absorber. You can also use number 10 cans or canning jars. All of these methods will preserve the food for many years to come. I've already labeled the Mylar bags. I include the date and a description of what's inside. So I'll take the ham, fill the Mylar bag, add an oxygen absorber, and seal it up. I like to do a double seal just to ensure that it's airtight. I'll do the same thing with the potatoes. My family loves to snack on freeze-dried fruit. Sometimes I store it in these glass jars, and sometimes I store it in canning jars. That way, they're easy to access for a snack. For long-term storage, I'll put the rest in Mylar bags, add an oxygen absorber, and seal them up. Raspberries and other fruits are delicious in cold cereal or warm oatmeal. I've powdered them and used them in smoothies and even to flavor cakes and frosting. Try using freeze-dried fruit in your baking. You can drop them in your muffin batter or your next cobbler. There are so many options. Okay, these are ready for your pantry or food storage room. For snacking, I put these jars of apples and raspberries on the counter or pantry shelf. The ice cream is amazing. It's delicious as a crunchy snack. I'm going to store some in Mylar bags and put some in a plastic bag to enjoy during the week. Your family will love these. Properly stored food can last up to 25 years. It's so easy to take the food that you've freeze-dried and create a meal for your family. Let's take the scalloped potatoes and ham I freeze-dried earlier. I'll show you how quickly you can have dinner on the table. I'll start with the potatoes. I'll open one of our sealed bags and empty the amount of potatoes I'll need into my cooking dish. To rehydrate, just add enough hot water to bring the potatoes to the consistency you want. The ham is next. To rehydrate that, I'll just pour hot water into a bowl and submerge the ham long enough for the meat to rehydrate and warm. It only takes a few minutes. Everything looks and smells amazing. Let's see. The potatoes and ham taste exactly the way they did before I freeze-dried them. They are so delicious. They would taste the same whether they were freeze-dried 20 years ago or 1 month ago. And the best part is, the food maintains nearly all of its nutritional value. Since we have leftovers in the bag, I'll put a new oxygen absorber in the bag and reseal it. Harvest Right's home freeze dryer gives you the ability to preserve produce from gardens and fruit trees, preserve full meals and foods your family loves to eat, and create your own food storage. To learn about these benefits and more, visit our website at Harvest Right.
Okay, now let's look at the main topic and how it impacts humanity. It impacts on saving children's lives. can save children's lives in times of natural disasters such as earthquake, hurricane, tornadoes. Can impact on children who are caught in the midst of wars and conflicts, like you see in this picture. Mothers rescuing their children from the brutal perils of war and fleeing with no food to eat. The Gaza Strip is a graveyard for thousands of children, as reported by the United Nations. In Ukraine, mothers are fleeing with children in arms with nothing to eat. It impacts in areas of man-made disasters such as wars, as we said before. Serves as food supplies for the war in Ukraine, and these are how these foods are packaged to send out. Look at how it impacts on climate change, as could impact over 43,000 deaths in Somalia in 2022 due to drought and famine caused by climate change. Freeze drying of foods could serve in this area to eradicate starvation and famine. It impacts on famine, hunger, and starvation in areas of the world ravaged by political corruption, freeze drying, preservation, and distribution of the food may be the answer for feeding children for long-term survival. And here are some grim statistics. According to the United Nations report on global hunger, nearly 670 million people, which is 8% of the world's population, will be facing hunger in 2030. According to the World Health Organization, every year, 11 million people die due to unhealthy diets. An estimated 45 million children under the age of 5 are suffering from wasting, which is the deadliest form of malnutrition. Now, this projection by the United Nations, as I may add, was made by the UN in 2030, UN Agenda in 2030 for Sustainable Development. This agenda acknowledges that eradicating poverty in all its forms and dimensions, including extreme poverty, is the greatest global challenge and indispensable requires for global sustainable development. We are now in the year 2024. In 6 more years, it will be 2030. So guess what, friends? Time is running out, but we have a little time left to make a difference. And I think freeze drying will be effective in curing famine, hunger, and starvation in these areas ravaged by climate change, wars, and political violence and corruption. And so here's something that all of us eat, or most of us do eat on a regular basis: eggs. Take a look at how we could achieve our objective by simply freeze drying a product that we all love. I'm talking about eggs, of course. This is quite amazing. So take a look at how we could freeze dry eggs.
I just found an amazing way to get these eggs, farm fresh eggs, to last for over 20 years on the shelf, and it doesn't even involve canning. Check it out. I love preserving eggs this time of year when we're getting so many of them for winter when the chickens aren't laying very well. And there's a lot of great ways to preserve eggs, but none of them are really good for long-term storage. You can freeze eggs in the freezer, but honestly, after a few months, the texture starts to get a little funny. And, by the time you get to a year, they're just not very good. You can save your eggs in lime, which I love to do. It's probably one of my favorite methods. And you can check out a video on that right here. But they're really only good for a season because the eggs are still slowly aging. Now, you can also dehydrate your eggs, but there's a lot of safety concerns with that because the dehydrating doesn't actually kill off all of the pathogens. So this method that I'm going to show you is so exciting because it actually makes eggs really easy to preserve for long-term storage, as in 20 plus years on the shelf. You are going to be amazed at how easy this is. All I do is crack 12 eggs into a nice size mixing bowl. Now I'm going to beat these thoroughly. You can also use a blender or immersion blender. Pour them onto the trays. And then I'm going to stick them in the freezer for about 2 hours. And then I'm going to take the frozen trays and pop them into this machine, turn it on, and let it work for a few hours. After 24 hours, I end up with a product that can sit on my shelf for years. Look at this. It is just an egg powder. So what is this amazing machine? Well, it's the Harvest Right freeze dryer. You know, a lot of you guys have asked me about freeze drying. So when Harvest Right reached out and offered to send us one in order to try it out, I got really excited because it's just another preservation method that a lot of people are getting interested in. And I gotta say, I am really excited about this now that I've used it. You know, I'm not gonna stop doing things like canning or dehydrating foods, and I'm certainly gonna not stop fermenting foods, but I think adding a freeze dryer to my collection of preservation methods is gonna give us a lot of really, really neat options, especially for long-term storage, because freeze-dried foods aren't supposed to lose their nutritional value for up to 25 years sitting on a shelf. And for those hard to preserve other foods like eggs or milk or whole meals. I'm really excited for the freeze dryer because of its ability to do things like backpacking meals and things for hiking, camping, or just quick convenience foods, because you can freeze dry complete meals and then just rehydrate them with a little bit of water. Okay, so that's all great, but now that I've got an egg powder, how do I use it and how does it taste? Rehydrating the eggs is actually really easy. You just take about 2 tablespoons of egg powder and 2 tablespoons of water per egg and mix them together and let them sit for a moment. I'm going to do about 2 eggs worth. So I'm doing a 1/4 cup of egg powder and a 1/4 cup of water. Wow, you can see that rehydrates right away. Swirl it up. I'm going to give it a minute or two to just rehydrate all the way. And then I'm going to cook up some eggs right next to some fresh eggs. I'm going to have Josh test them and see what he thinks. All right, I have 2 fresh eggs here and I have these freeze-dried eggs. Let me pour this out into here so you can see the texture. They look almost exactly like real fresh eggs, you know, in the texture. They are a little darker, so I wonder if I got a little more yolk in this. But texture-wise, they're very, very similar. I mean, that just looks like normal raw egg. Okay, I'm going to get them in a pan and cook them up. Okay, freeze-dried eggs going on the left. And fresh eggs are going to go in the right. Okay, so while we're frying up these eggs real fast, let's talk about the obvious downsides to freeze drying. One is the cost. The machines are expensive. They cost a lot to get started. The other is the energy consumption that it uses for actually freeze drying the foods. It actually uses a bit of energy. And I think the third thing that I found that I would say is kind of a downside to freeze drying would be the time that it takes for the processing, because each batch takes somewhere around 24 to 36 hours. So aside from that, though, I love the fact that it's such a long-term storage method. Okay, let's get these on the plate. Now remember, left is the freeze-dried. Okay, before Josh comes down, I kept the freeze-dried eggs on the left. They're over here. And the regular fresh eggs are right here. All right. So one of these is freeze-dried, and one of these is fresh eggs.
Wow.
Do you know which is which? Just for, keeping you honest.
No, I don't know which one is which.
Okay.
I have no idea as far as having seen what you've done.
Okay.
I've tackled this myself. I could make a guess, but I do not know.
Okay. From looking at this, which would you guess is the freeze-dried eggs without tasting them?
I think I would have to guess that one.
But that's a freeze-dried
That would
eggs.
be my guess.
Okay. Okay. I don't have any salt and pepper or anything on here, just so you could really taste the eggs and not cover it up with pepper. But now you have to taste them and see which
Well,
one.
what about them? Are you guys guessing? What do you think?
They know.
Okay,
They know
they
which one it
already
is.
know.
They know.
Wow.
They're testing
I'm
you.
alone here.
Yeah. You.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to try this one first. No salt and pepper. Oh, I think I had it wrong. But we'll see. Those taste like regular eggs.
Okay.
No water or anything to clear the palate. Are you supposed to do that kind of thing? Wow. That is pretty good. You're serious? One of these are
One of these.
freeze dried?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to reverse my story. I think those are the freeze dried now,
Okay.
which kind of makes sense. Maybe the color got brought out. So I would guess those are the freeze dried.
Okay. Why do you guess that? Is there a flavor difference?
There's a little flavor difference. It's not much. That's really impressive.
Okay. So if you were just having this by yourself, would you think, oh, those are freeze-dried eggs?
No, especially with a little salt and pepper on it. Like
Yeah.
somebody put salt and pepper on it.
Uh-huh.
They're just a little blander.
Okay.
Is what I would say,
All right.
but not by a large degree. And the texture is, texture's great.
Okay, well, you got it right. These are the freeze-dried eggs.
Okay.
So there you have
Very
it, you
cool.
guys. So would you be happy with that for breakfast?
Absolutely. I'm highly impressed.
You may have these for breakfast in 20 years.
Well, hey, if we need that, that's good. That's good. We want to keep the pantry stocked. So
There you have it, you guys. Eggs that you can put on your shelf for 20 years.
I think we'll eat them up before then because that's really good.
Okay.
Cool.
Hey, if you want to know other things you can do with all those farm fresh eggs you're getting right now, check out this video right here.
Okay, my friends, we are in the AI technology business, but also in the food industry, we also have technology that can help us to achieve our objectives, like eradicating hunger and starvation. And you see that amazing video just show you how you can just freeze dry one of those items that we all love, eggs. So guess what? We have Mr. Brent Johnson from Harvest, right? The original, and I say the original freeze dry company in the house. Mr. Brent Johnson is here. And we are very fortunate to have him. His company is in the United States. The guy got up this morning from about 6 o'clock to join us. Mr. Johnson and I have been conversing for over a year regarding freeze drying. He's very knowledgeable about these machines and the freeze drying process. I was very delighted when he agreed without hesitation to join me for the first time, hopefully not for the last, and this OPassion Singapore Malaysia Global Seminar to answer your questions. So ladies and gentlemen, it is now my greatest pleasure in bringing Mr. Johnson to you and to ask him to introduce himself and answer your questions.
Yeah.
Johnson.
Yes, I am so delighted to be here, you guys. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm so excited to be able to answer any questions you guys have. So just before we get started with some of your questions, I would love to kind of give you a little history of our company. So the reason why we got started is the owner of our company actually had a little bit of background when it came to commercial food storage companies. And so he was dealing with these monstrous freeze dryer machines that would basically sell pre-freeze dried meals. And what was happening is people would find out that he was working with this company, and they would ask them, hey, would you please freeze dry some of my garden produce? I've got some amazing tomatoes that I would love to be able to freeze dry. I've got some fantastic corn. Can you please freeze dry this corn? And for him, he would have loved to do it, but because the machines were so big, it just wasn't feasible. And so that's why the idea popped into his head to be able to make a freeze dryer that could be used in home, to be able to make the first residential freeze dryer. And so back in around 2011, he was able to partner with a very smart engineer, and they were able to basically engineer and develop the first residential freeze dryer. I started with a company, was probably around the 7th employee there. And at that time, we were selling maybe 5 to 15 machines a month, if we were lucky. With a lot of blessings, I've seen this company grow. And I've been able to speak with so many different people about how these freeze dryers have blessed their lives. And we really don't do a lot of marketing. We have found that the majority of ways people are hearing about us are word of mouth. And people are spreading the word about how they have a freeze dryer and how they are using it and how it is allowing them to be able to preserve food for plethora of different methods and reasons, whether it's to preserve food from their gardens, to be able to just have it last longer, to be able to have healthy snacks. We have a lot of people that are obviously using it for food preservation and for food storage, for disasters and for security. Recently, we've had a lot of people that have dietary restrictions, whether it's allergies or other things that they are, they have to limit their diet to, and they are just freeze drying healthy meals that will allow them to be able just to eat on a daily basis. So that way they can preserve their foods just a little bit longer. And it's been pretty impressive to see a company when I started that was selling maybe 7 to 15 machines a month to now selling close to 5,000 machines a month. And we are selling all across the world. And it has been really fun and really neat to see. So I would love to be able to answer any questions that you guys have and help you further understand what these freeze dryers are able to do.
Mr. Mabel.
Vittel. Okay. So we'll just open up for questions and let me see. Ren?
Yes.
It's an amazing machine and technology. And are there governments or big concern using it to help war-torn places and countries already? And if not, why not?
So we do have governments that are using this machine. We actually, years ago, spoke with a lot of representatives in Nigeria and some other African countries about sending these freeze dryers. So the problem that we ran into is that the process, unfortunately, is a longer process. So your average freeze drying cycle is around 24 to 36 hours. And that is all depending on the type of food that you are doing. So for example, something like a pineapple or watermelon that has a lot of water in there is going to take upwards to 45 hours. Whereas something like the herbs, or if you have some plants that you are looking to freeze dry, could take around 16 to 15 hours. So there's such a wide range. And the problem that they ran into is that power over there was pretty spotty. And so they would have a lot of random power outages that would interrupt the cycle. And they just deemed it just a little bit too difficult to be able to have these machines in a situation where it could be, relied upon to be able to freeze dry their product. So that was the problem that they ran into. And so if you live in a location that you feel like you would be able to live on a grid that had enough power to be able to run for that long of a span of time, then you should have no problem.
I think you probably you got some of my questions. You want to go through it, or I'll just probably maybe list them and slowly ask you the questions.
Yeah, either way works just fine.
Yeah.
It looks like John has a question.
Go ahead, John.
Well, I'm not even sure how relevant this is. Certainly, if we want to do anything on a very large scale, but I'm just thinking the size of the machine, or what do we call it, oven, or whatever it is. It's not that large. It didn't seem like to me the in-home, machine. But I was wondering, is there a possibility that at some point, for someone who didn't need to do large amounts of food to store for a long period of time, or at least not have a large supply that would need to be around for a long period of time. Is there a possibility, for example, I live in an apartment, a small apartment. So even the size of the oven, I don't know what to call it, the machine that I see, the freeze dryer, how about that? The freeze dryer, the size of that, is it possible that you might have available at some point a smaller, so that you only do a lesser amount of food, perhaps just to be more convenient for someone who wouldn't be in need of doing a more at one time, or how much they need to store? Would there be the possibility of at some point a commercial product freeze dryer? Freeze dryer for just a smaller version, perhaps?
So that video that you guys watched was actually back in 2016. And we had one size at that time. It was a model that was able to do about 8 pounds of product per batch. We now have 5 sizes. We have a small size that is ideal for, like what you said, for people that are in apartments or smaller homes. And that one is able to do around 6 pounds of product per batch. And then we have a machine that is all the way up to extra large. And the extra large model is able to do around 50 pounds of product per batch. And so what we've been seeing is, for your average household, they generally go anywhere from the small freeze dryer all the way up to the extra large. And then I speak to a large amount of people that are starting businesses with this. And they will have anywhere from 2 machines all the way up to 50, 60 freeze dryers. And they go with the extra large. And the reason why they like to go with our freeze dryers rather than investing a couple $1 million for one of those really big freeze dryers is because it gives them the scalability and the control. Whereas if they have, let's just say, for the sake of the example, if they have 15 to 20 machines and 1 or 2 machines go down with issues, they still have the remainder of the 13 machines that are still working, and they're able to continue to run their production without any downtime. Whereas if you have one really big commercial freeze dryer, if you have any issues, you are down until a technician is able to be flown out. And so it just gives people the ability to scale as needed.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think, Brand, you have kind of, instead of one big one, a few medium size is probably a good idea in case one break down. I think, if we are in for humanity, for preserving food for humanity, our idea is humbly, if when the apples come, not if, but when the apples come, we would like to collect uh, all the leftover food or food that is to be thrown by restaurants, be it in Singapore or some developed nations. They have this regulation that food are to be thrown, not to be kept overnight. So if we can move towards the idea of collecting all this to be thrown away, food and meat, but they are still clean. So we attempt to do this and freeze them, freeze dry this food that is supposed to be thrown away. Uh, the aim is a daily collection to collect as much as possible, freeze dry this food, and then ship out, ship out to places of need. Um, is there anyone already doing this?
So we do have some companies that are doing that on a smaller scale, with the same mentality. The same goal is to be able to basically help those in their community. So I do have a couple of customers that live in a small town, and that is their goal, is to be able to basically work with local restaurants and people and farmers, and any type of leftover meals that would be thrown out. They then collect and then they freeze dry it.
In US?
In the US, yes, that is correct.
Okay, in the US. Um, and Bren, if food can be preserved, how come restaurants are not doing this to preserve their food instead of throwing them away?
So we're
Is it
actually
more like a
seeing
compliance thing?
we're seeing an uptick in that. Actually, we are seeing restaurants that will contact us for that reason. Maybe a big portion of it is to start another line of product that they can sell. But I think the underlying reason behind that is because they're seeing a lot of food waste. So I will have companies that have restaurants that will say, I want to be able to freeze dry my spaghetti and meatballs, or I want to freeze dry my chicken gumbo, or whatever it is that they sell at their restaurant, and they will freeze dry it, and then they will actually have it as an option to sell on their website. And I think the underlying reason, like you mentioned, is to be able to cut down on food waste. But strangely enough, though we have grown to the size that we are, a lot of people are still not familiar with what freeze drying is. And so I think it's still a lack of not understanding that it's an option for them.
I see. I see. Let me go. How big is, when you say that instead of buying a big one, we have 15 medium size machines or something like that? Can you let me know? Are we able to mention the price now, because it's mentioned is expensive? Are you able to say a machine that can take 20 pounds of a food or meat? How much would it cost?
Of course.
Or you prefer not to mention this here?
Oh no, I'm happy to. The information is on our website, harvestright.com. But to give you guys an idea, so for the example, I will say I'll start with our extra large freeze dryer. Our extra large right now is probably our most popular size, just because it not only works well for businesses and companies, but it's really popular for the average household as well, strangely enough, even though it's a pretty big machine. That machine can do the 50 pounds of product per batch, and is currently listed on our website for about $5,000. I think it's $49.95. And then we have our large freeze dryer that's able to do around 22 pounds of product, and that is listed at $35.95. So $3,595.
Okay.
Um,
I mean,
could I follow up on that, Sister Mabel? Brent has also assured me that it's instead of buying single units, if we pull together to buy multiple units, then these are discounted based on value. Also, Brent, you had told me once that you have one coming up called the HRC, which is 100 pounds, 200 pounds. Can you elaborate some more on that?
Yes, yes. So we haven't officially launched this, but we are working. We're just about there for our commercial grade freeze dryers, and it's the first one that we're going to be launching is called our HRC 100. And the HRC 100 is going to be about 100-pound per capacity, technically probably around about 120 pounds. And that we developed that. We really never meant to get in the commercial game, but we found that so many people are purchasing a large quantity of our freeze dryers just because they're seeing a lot of success with freeze drying. And so we decided to go ahead and try to get into the mid-grade commercial game. And so that really gives people an opportunity if they are looking for a mass quantity of product. So about 100 pounds of product per batch. And those are around $10,000.
Wow. Humbly, these numbers do not frighten us, because if you want to help humanity, and if God is giving us the apples, these numbers do not frighten us. And it's just about how to manage. So the next question, I know there's a hand who put up, but this 100-pound or HRC, how big is that machine?
It's about 70 inches tall. So 70 inches tall by about 33.5 inches wide. So if you can kind of envision maybe two washing machines stacked on top of each other, that's about the size that it is.
Okay, do they break down, Brent? Do they break down often? How do you maintain them?
So we have really focused, especially lately, on a really good quality freeze dryer. Ever since COVID hit, we tripled in size. We didn't understand the demand when something like COVID would hit the world, and so we just received so many orders for freeze dryers at that point that we grew. And so we decided to take all the analytics from any of the issues that we were having, and we basically fixed those issues and put them into a new product called our Harvest Stripe Pros. So our Harvest Stripe Pros are what we sell now, and we're very excited about them. That being said, issues definitely can still arise, and if there are any issues, what's nice is that we've developed these freeze dryers specifically to be able to be worked on pretty easily. So we have a great support staff. We have a wonderful staff that would be able to diagnose and fix, I would say, around 70% of any issue that could arise just over the phone.
It's not available in Singapore yet, right? It's only US. So well, that can be worked out if we were to buy 5 or 10 machines, as the Lord allow us.
And we do. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but we actually are selling to customers all over the world. So I've sold into Singapore before, and everywhere from Australia to New Zealand to Singapore to Egypt. All these places we've sold into, and we're still able to support the customer. So that is something that we are still able to do.
How long does these machines last?
The freeze dryer machine itself will last you over 10 years, no problem. If you can kind of consider it maybe like a deep freezer, That's basically what it is with some additional components. The thing that will eventually wear out a little quicker is going to be the vacuum pump that is connected to the freeze dryer. And that vacuum pump will probably need to be replaced depending on how frequently you run it, around 5-6 years before you would need a new vacuum pump if you were running it pretty frequently.
When we freeze dry the food, is there a way to defreeze this food? Do we need to defreeze this food, or we can just eat it as it is?
So once it's freeze dried, it's going to be as dry as a bone. So it almost kind of feels like styrofoam just because it's so light and airy. So you can definitely eat it all in the dried state if you want to. But ideally, you would want to rehydrate it and reintroduce it to water. So that way it comes back to the original form.
So it's through water, huh? It's
Correct.
water.
Yes.
Okay.
So most people will eat their vegetables and their fruits in the dried state because it still retains all the nutritional value and it's a really fun texture. Fruit is going to be one of the few things that doesn't rehydrate as well as the fresh original state. It is a little soggier. So most people will eat the fruits in the dried state. But when it comes to your vegetables, your meats, your pastas, your rice, your meals, soups, dairy products, all of those will rehydrate back to basically their original form. And it's going to be pretty difficult to tell the difference.
I see. Rehydrate, that means just leave it out in the air, in the open. It will
So
come back to it.
rehydrating is going to be basically reintroducing the product to water.
Okay.
So like in the video that we watched a little earlier, the lady was putting the food back into like a bowl of water. So she had the pieces of ham and she was putting that in a bowl of water. Or she had her potatoes and she put the dried potatoes in a bowl and then just slowly added some hot water. And that's basically going to be the majority of the time what you will do to rehydrate your food. I've been in places that was very, very humid, and we brought samples of food to allow people to try. And by midday, that food was already soft because of all the humidity in the air. And so your food is going to naturally want to soak in all the moisture it can. The idea is to really try to introduce it to as much as it can so the water cells can bring it back to the way it was before.
When it first come out of that machine, is it freezing cold? Is it very, very cold?
The food is going to be, the trays will be cold, but the food will not be because there's no more water in there.
Okay. Actually, the video speaks a lot, tells us a lot about it. So I see that hand, the lady in the video, she used her hand to touch the eggs. Will our hand contaminate these freezed products? Should we be doing that?
Yeah, I actually saw that too. And I would personally probably use like a spatula or some type of spoon or something to be able to do that, especially if you were looking to redistribute it.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it was for her family and she was okay with using her own hands.
Of course. Yeah. So there is still that part to handle it with care.
Correct.
When the food come out from the machine, you have to vacuum it. Once you vacuum it, it does not need to be in a fridge. We can keep it for a month or two before putting it on an aeroplane and ship it out, right? More importantly is the packaging. Each packaging be vacuumed, right?
So the most important part about freeze drying is making sure that it's packaged correctly. So once the product is freeze dried, it is very important and vital to check to make sure that the center of the food is completely dry. So what I personally do is I have a little laser. It's a moisture meter that I got it at the store online, and I just basically shine this laser at the food and it will tell me the percentage of moisture that's still in the product. So I just want to, reassure myself that it is dry before I package it. Once you've recognized that the food is completely dry, then you do want to put it in a Mylar bag. You can use a number 10 can. You can use a mason jar for long-term storage, as long as you either vacuum seal it or you put an oxygen absorber in there. And that way it takes all the oxygen out of the container before you seal it. So if you do that, then yes, you can just keep it on your shelf. You can send it to wherever you need to send it, and it does not to be in a cooler or anything like that.
Okay, thank you. I think I've taken a lot of your time, and let's really open up for others to ask the questions. Is there Jeannie? Is there a Sharon? And Sharon Williams.
Yeah, Sharon's hand is up, and also Vinette.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Sharon, would you like to go first? Sharon
Hi.
Williams.
Yes. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. Brent, I would like to ask some question. How much hydro does your freeze dry burn per month?
So all of our freeze dryers run on electricity, and so we can convert them to run on really whatever power is needed. So they run standard on about 110 volts and about 50 amps, 60 watts is what I meant to say. So your average batch will take anywhere from about 9 to 11 amps, or about 1,300 watts is going to be kind of on average what you're going to be looking at. And your average batch takes about 24 hours to run. So depending on the cost of electricity, we're here in Salt Lake City, Utah, we run at about 11 cents per kilowatt hour, and most batches cost me around $1.75 to $2.
Okay, and like I live in Jamaica, where electricity is very expensive here. Do you have an energy saver on it?
We do not, unfortunately.
Okay, and when is the best time to get a sale with you guys? Because really, I was looking up on you guys from a few months ago, and I see where sometimes you really have good sales going on.
We do. We have sales periodically throughout the year. I was speaking with Vittel about this presentation and this group. We want to make sure that we can work with everybody that is here, just because it's for such an amazing cause, that we can definitely work with you. And even if there is not a specific sale on our website, we can make sure that we can get you the best price, no matter what time of year it is. So we can definitely see what we can do to get you the best price as possible.
Okay, so what I want to ask you, if I want to purchase one, how can I get in touch with you definitely?
So I am more than happy to give you guys my contact information, so that way if you have future questions or if you are looking to order one, I am happy to help you out in any way I can. So I'm not sure, Vittel, what you feel like would be the best way to do that. If you just want me to give my information to everybody now and they can write it down, or if you want me to enter it in the chat, whatever you feel like would be the best route.
Well,
Okay.
I think, Brent, I know you're a busy guy. And I think the best way, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, then they have my phone number, and I have my email. I don't want you to be talking to everybody, because when we're going to be dealing with you as a group, I want to make sure that people are getting the best price possible, and when they call in, or they're calling from ONPASSIVE ASH. So most people who are on this call, they have access to my information. But it's up to you, if you want to I know you're busy, running all over doing sales, and you make a choice. But I could take the information for you.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, whatever is easiest. My email is pretty simple. It's just brent.johnson@harvestright.com. And so if
Right.
you guys want to reach out, I answer my emails all day long. So
Yeah, that's the best. That's the best method. So
yep.
the phone call becomes very tedious. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, next question. All right, I'm living in Jamaica. If it breaks down, how can I get it fixed?
So the way that it would work is, let's just say it does break down. You would contact our customer support, or you could contact me, and I can make sure to get you in touch with the correct person that would be able to, number one, diagnose what the problem is. And so they would be able to run some tests. There's an option for us to be able to pull some log files from the freeze dryer that will tell the technician what the issue is. So we can diagnose the problem. And if it is a quick little software update or something that we can kind of walk you through how to fix over the phone, it would be, a really quick little option. If it is something that is a broken part, what we would do is we would send you the part, and then we would then walk you through the install over the phone. The majority, like I said before, the majority of all of the issues that I would say 70% of any issue that we run into can be fixed easily over the phone. It has been pretty rare that we've ever had to send a freeze dryer back to us that has been shipped internationally. But in the worst case scenario, we would just basically have it shipped back to us. We would fix it and then send it to you. We do have a warranty. The warranty is still valid for our international customers. So it would be a limited 3-year warranty. The 3 years is going to cover the bigger components, so like the refrigeration system, condenser unit, and then everything else is going to be a 1-year warranty. And so the only change with the warranty for our international customers compared to here in the States would be that we do have the international customers pay the freight for any replacement part that was needed. And that would be really the only difference in change.
Okay, next question. Do you guys sell the oil anywhere else than Harvest Right?
It is a pretty common oil. So the vacuum pump that's really the only maintenance that you're going to be looking at. And I'll just quickly explain what's involved with that. Is about every 25 times you run the machine, the vacuum pump does need to have the oil filtered and cleaned. So you'll just open up a little port on that vacuum pump, that oil will drain out of the pump, and then we will provide you an oil filter. It's kind of like a common water pitcher filter that would basically clean the oil out. And once it's been filtered through the filter that we provide, you just pour that clean oil back into the vacuum pump. And that is all that's required, is every 25 times you run the machine. You can filter that same oil upwards to about 15 times before you would need to discard it and get brand new oil. And the oil that you would use is any non-detergent vacuum pump oil. And you can find that on, any farm equipment store, any plumbing store, any HVAC store. I know here Amazon has it. So it's a pretty common oil, but as long as it's a non-detergent vacuum pump oil, you are welcome to use it.
Okay. And how much for a vacuum pump?
So for a replacement vacuum pump, on our website, it's about $800, but we do offer a returning customer discount that would bring it down to anywhere between $500 to $600.
Okay, and how long does a vacuum pump last?
If you run it pretty frequently, it will last you about 5 to 6+ years.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Johnson, for all your information. And I hope to buy one real soon from you guys. So I'll most definitely get in touch with Mr. Vittel, and he will take it from there.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Please let me know if you have any other questions.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Sharon Williams, for asking the questions. And thank you, Brand, for answering the questions. And next, we have Ms. Vinette.
Hello everyone. How are you?
Hi, good.
Hi, Brother Vittel. Thanks again for that great presentation and for bringing Mr. Johnson on to give us knowledge on the freeze drying machine. Mr. Johnson, hello. I'm Vinette.
Hello.
I'm actually sister, and you've answered a lot of the questions for me through my sister Sharon. She asked a lot of the questions that I wanted to. But my question is, she's in Jamaica, and does the company start exporting the freeze drying machine, or is this just per customer?
Well, so right now it's basically on a per customer basis. We are exploring into having some docks and areas across the world that will be able to basically help ship our freeze dryers and store our freeze dryers for different countries and places. And so that is something that we would love to get into. But as of right now, it's just like a per customer basis.
Okay, do you see it going international anytime soon? That would
100%.
be great.
Yeah, 100%. It is definitely the biggest seller is just, we sell the most, obviously the United States into Canada, but I probably speak with, I would say 2 to 3 customers from different countries around the world every day.
Wow. Because what we have coming, that would be great, because we'll be dealing with different countries, Jamaica, Singapore, Africa, all over the world. This companies globally, so it would be good to have it everywhere in every country. So
Absolutely.
we could just do the freeze drying there instead of having to freeze dry here and import it. I just love the idea of the freeze drying machine. I'm actually excited about it. It means cutting down on food waste, and millions of starving people will get fed globally. Each time we freeze dry, it means food in the reserve for approximately 25 years for starving people. This can really change the status quo. Who could imagine eggs lasting on the shelf for 20 years? I mean, if someone had told me that, I'd be like, what? Eggs?
Right.
No way.
It is a pretty interesting concept, but yes, it is pretty fun.
Yes. So thank you so much for taking time out from your busy schedule to come give us knowledge on the machine. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vinette, and thank you, Brand. Okay, next, Brand, we have another gentleman, Mr. Raj Namuda. Raj, please.
Hello. Yes, sister. Oh, thank you so much, sister, inviting me. Great session going on. Hats off, Mr. Vittel Smart, sir, empowering and nurturing us highly top-class information about freeze drying, one of the best methods to increase the life of foods and others material. Wow, that's a great session going on. Fantastic one. And thank you so much to Mr. James Burnett, sir. Really great explanation. I have 2 questions, sir. Sir, yes, we are giving the solution of food, okay? Preservation about using deep freezing, dry freezing method. It is one of the best method, okay? But we can solve the matter of malnutrition and starvation through this method. But my question is, when accident occurs, okay, in the emergency situation, people need blood bank. Can we apply this formula, the freezing drying method, in the blood bank? Is it possible?
Yes. So the whole concept of freeze drying is to extract the water out of whatever product you're putting in there. So most people think when it comes to freeze drying, you're only speaking of food. However, when it comes to the medical industry, there are actually a lot of people that we have been working with that are freeze drying different, whether it's plasma, whether it's blood, whether it's certain items. So I don't have a lot of expertise in how things are working, just because that is definitely out of my my pay grade. But I do know that it is being used for definitely a lot more things than just everyday food, and I know that blood is one of them that has been being tested on. So yes, the answer is yes. I wouldn't be able to speak more because I just don't have much information, unfortunately.
Second question, actually, we have seen during Corona pandemic, the people needs a Corona vaccine, okay? And we want to give a longer period of Corona vaccine for the people to increase the boosting immunity power. Can we, even what is your idea about? Can we use this method in the preservation of vaccine at all? This is also something typical.
Theoretically, yes. So it's tough because, I mean, it all goes back to the benefit of freeze drying is that because you're using the sublimation method and you're not using a direct heat, you're preserving a lot of the proteins, a lot of the nutritional value, the enzymes, all of those, the bacteria is not being killed. It's basically just being put in a dormant state. And so when it comes to vaccines, when it comes to medicines, when it comes to medicinals, all of those things are working really well. One of the bigger industries that has really taken off using our freeze dryers is actually the cannabis industry. And the reason why it's doing so well is because all of the properties that are wanting to be retained are so potent, and so none of those properties are being killed or extracted. And so the same concept goes for any other medicinals, is that theoretically it should work. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of information on that, but I would see a benefit in doing that. I don't have much information. I apologize.
Wow, that's incredible answer, sir. That's great. Another question, sir. We are discussing all the positive sides of this method. According to you, any some drawback, any side effect of this method, freeze drying? According to you, it is 100% perfect.
Sorry, I don't know if I understood the question correctly. I heard
Actually, what I'm saying that it is 100% perfect technique to increase the life standard of food. 100% it is okay. Yeah, is any drawback, any disadvantage of this method?
Well, so freeze drying is, we definitely didn't invent freeze drying by any means. The same method that they used clear back in World War II is the same method that we're using. It's just we have been able to kind of condense it down to a smaller version. It's the only drawback that I see with freeze drying is that there are certain foods that will not rehydrate perfectly like they were before. It's going to be pretty rare. Like, for example, fruits. If I was to take an apple off my tree and freeze dry it, and then in 5 years I decided to rehydrate it, it wouldn't be a crisp right off the tree apple texture. It would be like an apple that I had baked in an apple pie, or that was in an apple cobbler. And so the benefit is that all the nutritional value is there, and that's what we're really hoping to retain is all the nutritional value and the flavor, but the texture is maybe a little bit more soggy than people would like. Another thing that is very important, and I talked about this a little bit, is that it is very, very important that if you were using it for food preservation methods, to make sure that you check the food before it is packaged to make sure that the moisture is all the way gone. Because if you package it with still a little bit of moisture that is frozen in the center, that will thaw, and then that will allow the bacteria to continue to grow. And then that's where you see mold and botulism and different things that you would run into. So as long as you are careful with before you package the product, then it is a huge blessing, and it's been in practice for for years and years with war and with NASA and with all sorts of different government, just because it is by far the most beneficial method of food preservation.
Wow, that's a highly innovative and insightful brainstorming session going on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Wow, great.
Thank you for your
And
question.
over to Mr.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Brother Raj. Thank you so much. And thank you, Brand, for answering all the questions. Do we have anyone else who would like to ask any question? Okay, I saw Sister Sharon. Sister Sharon, your hand is up. Sharon Williams. Sister Sharon.
I don't know if it was up from before. And she
Are you having a problem unmuting, Sister Sharon? Okay, since we cannot get Sister Sister Sharon, earlier I saw AP Mahusudan from India. Is it that you want to ask any question? AP Mahusudan, are you there? Yes, I see you. Can you unmute yourself? Yeah, can you unmute so that you can speak? AP Mahusudan? You can't unmute? AP Mahusudan, are you able to unmute? Looks like he cannot unmute.
Yeah, can't unmute.
Yeah. Okay. If there is no hand, then I have some questions for you, Brent. Jeannie here. I would like to ask, can we freeze dry single eggs one at a time and not like what the lady showed us in the video where she mixed all the 12 eggs together, beat it up and pour it in the tray? Instead of doing that, can we have individual eggs, just break the eggs and leave it individually to be freezed?
You sure can.
Can?
Yep, if you wanted to break the eggs individually and have the yolks and everything intact, that is definitely something you can do.
Okay, so then once it's freeze dry, when I want to reuse the egg again, I want the sunny side up. So how do I do it?
So the rehydration process on that is going to be a little bit more difficult, just because if you think of a fresh egg, if you were to take a fresh egg and break it onto a pan and then take some water and pour that into the egg, it's just going to kind of go all over the place. It would be the same concept. You can technically freeze dry a full egg, but the rehydration process is going to be a little bit more difficult. And so if you wanted to get pretty technical, I've had some customers do that, and it comes out like a kind of a styrofoam egg. And what you would need to do is just take like a little dropper, and you can just kind of take little drops and just add a little water one at a time. It's pretty tedious, and I think that's why most of the people that use our freeze dryer just kind of scramble the eggs, and they just use it as a raw egg at that point.
Oh, thank you. And I have a second question for you. If we were to do the freeze drying of fruits and vegetables, must all this be cut up first before we can freeze it?
So ideally, you want your food to be at around a half of an inch thick, or tall. That's kind of ideal, just because what would happen is if you went an inch thick, it tricks the machine to thinking that the food is completely dry, but in reality, there's still a little bit of ice in the center of the food. And so that's kind of where you would run into problems, is you would just, it's more difficult for the machine to completely dry it. So, but there is a solution to that. You can, I've done thicker, taller food, but at the very end of the process, I will take my food out and I will check it, and it will still show that there's ice in the center of the food. And what you can do is then, if it's not all the way dry, you just slide your food back into the machine, and the machine will say on the display screen, add more dry time. And you would just click that button and it will run for an additional 2-3 hours, depending on how much more time you think that it would need. And you can continue to add more dry time until the food is completely dry. So if you do something pretty tall or thick, then it's just going to take a little bit more extra time to be able to dry it all the way through.
All right, thank you. Yeah, that question actually goes back to earlier when Mabel mentioned that we can collect food from leftover food from bakeries or from restaurants and all that, and to freeze dry this so that we can give it out to the nations that need food. So it looks like only certain type of food can be done, right? Because like you say, if it's too thick, then we can't do it, right?
Well, I mean, if it's too thick, I mean, you could always try to cut it up. It really depends on what it is. But in terms of what things can be freeze dried, just in a nutshell, obviously your fruits and vegetables. You can do all types of meats. You can do your dairy products. You can do full meals. So you can do your pasta meals. You can do casseroles. You can do dairy products. So if you were to go to a restaurant, and depending on what they were giving away, if it was, vegetables or fruit, you would just need to cut it to size before you put it on the freeze dryer. If it was like a full meal, like if it was, let's just say a pork chop or steak, and it was a thicker steak, you may need to kind of cut it into pieces or wedges to make sure that it was the correct height.
All right. So I believe the machine will come with a manual, right, to guide us how to freeze our food and what types of food and what to follow, how to follow.
Of course.
Am I right?
Yes, absolutely. We include a really good owner's manual that will walk you through how to use the freeze dryer, but we also will include a little recipe book that will walk you through some of our favorite recipes that we do and some favorite foods that we like to do, that will walk you through the preparation, how to freeze dry it, as well as the rehydration process as well.
Well, cool. Thank you so much, Brent. And if we were to order one machine or two machines, whatever, or we combine a few machines, how long would it take you to ship it to Singapore for us?
So that's a great question. I would say, to be safe, probably around 6 weeks for any type, because we do have to convert it to the correct power. And then we ship through FedEx International, and once it ships, it's pretty quick. It's about 7 days from our facility to your door, and that would be delivered. So around 7 days once shipped, but we are currently, due to the demand right now, we are probably around 6 weeks out from the day you place an order before it would ship.
All right, cool. Thank you so much. When we are ready, we will get Brother Vittel Smart to let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, we are talking about delivery. This XL and L model, how heavy are them?
So the extra large freeze dryer is going to be probably around 180 pounds. And the large freeze dryer is around 140 pounds.
Okay. So we are able to check out the dimensions of the freeze dryer on your website, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Before we make the order.
Correct. Yes. And you know, like I mentioned, I am more than happy to give you guys any information if you would like some specification sheets on the machine, on the models that you were leaning towards. That is definitely something that I can email you and send you. If you shoot me an email and just ask any question at all, just brent.johnson@harvestright.com, I can respond to any question or send you some additional sheets with the specifications on any model that you may be interested in.
Oh, all right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Brent. All right. I think I see Sister Vinette's hand. Sister Vinette, over to you. Thank you, Brent.
Of course.
Thanks, Sister Jeannie. This question is actually for Sister Sharon Williams in Jamaica. She wasn't able to raise her hand or, unmute. So, Mr. Jansu, Sharon wants to know for ground produce, how would you freeze dry those? How would you handle those? Do you have to cook them before freeze drying, or freeze dry then cook after freeze drying? How would you handle that? Ground provisions like yam and potatoes, etc.
Yeah. Well, so you have to understand with freeze drying is the quality of food that you put into the machine is the quality of food that you're going to get out of it. And so that goes with any raw product. So if you were to do meat and you freeze dry it raw, after it's dry, it's still considered raw. So if you were going to do those ground products like your potatoes and yams, I personally prefer to cook all the food that I want to do the way I want to eat it before I put it into the freeze dryer. Potatoes are interesting in the sense that if you freeze dry a potato and then you try to rehydrate it, it actually oxidizes, it turns black. And so it's very unappealing. It looks pretty awful, but it's still edible. So most people with like yams and potatoes and those type of foods, they will blanch them beforehand and cook them beforehand, and then they will freeze dry them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Vinette. And thank you, Brand. Okay, Mabel or Sister Bernadette? No, Dr. Benny? Do you have any questions, Dr. Benny?
Thank you so much, Sister Jenny, for giving me this opportunity. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I do not really have a question, but I just want to comment. I want to thank our Brother Vittel, as well as Mr. Brent Johnson. Thank you so much. This is really an awesome, I would say, astonishing presentation. And with this topic, we really need it in Africa. Unfortunately, even if we buy that freezer, if we buy it, the problem is we will have electrical problem because I don't think they will really have money to save it. I don't know. Maybe because of ONPASSIVE. Hopefully, there will be time that we'll be able to help our family in Africa. Now, I was really, really shocked when I heard about the egg, that it can be preserved for 20 years, which means that since we have a lot of problem in our country right now when it comes with chicken. So are you saying that even if these eggs are being preserved, do you think they can hatch? No? It's just to eat.
Just to eat, yes.
Yeah.
Freeze the egg. I mean, freeze. It's all eggs. Freeze the egg in the egg.
That would be amazing if that was possible, though.
See, and when I watched that video, I saw that some of the food that were freezed, I just liked, but there was something that I saw that I love, but like the fruits. So I mean, it looks so amazing, and when it comes to the price, I know if I want to purchase it, I will call you to purchase, because I want to try it here in America before I can purchase it and send it to Africa. But sending it to Africa is going to cost a lot of money, right?
You know, so Africa is actually, we've been having a lot of problems shipping into Africa, and I'm not sure why. It's been difficult for us to ship into Africa, and I think a big reason behind that is because they have a specific dimension limit that they allow us to ship into. So we like to ship a lot of our freeze dryers in big crates to make sure that it arrives in great condition. And I don't know if it's just because of FedEx Freight is who we use as our carrier, if it's, you know, issues with that, but it's for some reason into any African country, we've been having some problems. And so it takes a little bit of navigating through some hurdles, but we have done it multiple times. But it is a little bit of a hurdle to get into Africa.
My idea is not so much shipping the machine, but shipping the food, the freeze dried food all over.
Yeah.
And a huge benefit of freeze drying is that the food is light as a feather once it's dried. And so shipping costs have dramatically dropped for a lot of these people because they don't have to worry about shipping the food in coolers with dry ice and all this other stuff, because it's just shelf stable and it's so light that they can send so much bigger quantities of food to these locations. So I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and we send a lot of boys on missions across the world. And so I have a lot of families that will tell me is that they will freeze dry their child's favorite foods and their favorite meals, and they'll ship it everywhere into South America, into Canada, into Asia, into Africa. And it's so amazing because shipping costs are just so much less expensive because it's so light. And so it's been really interesting to see that.
Thank you so much, and we hope that you will come back again and present more to us, so we can learn. I mean, we just want to know, and like how much it costs to see. My main aim is to see how we can help in my country. In Africa, we really need that, since we are suffering over there. Thank you so much again for the presentation, Brother Vittel. And thank you for bringing Mr. Brent Johnson to all of us. We appreciate you, we love you, and we just pray that may the Lord be with you, guide and protect you and your entire family. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Benny. And thank you, Bran. Mabel, you want to carry on?
I think as we said, I think you have equipped us, empowered us with this knowledge, and the Lord will use this technology to further the mission of ONPASSIVE. So, Ginny, maybe we should get Brother Vittel to help us close.
Yes, Brother Vittel, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Sister Jeannie and Sister Mabel, for your invitation here today. I'm very honored to be here and I enjoy myself very much. Mr. Brent Johnson, I have this for you, sir. Thank you very much, Brent, for taking time from your busy schedule to be here with us today.
Thank you, everybody, to have me.
I think this is the first of many joint appearances that we'll be, and I hope to visit you and your facility very soon.
Amen.
All brand ambassadors, we are here for a very special cause: to uplift humanity by eradicating hunger, starvation globally. Freeze drying is just one of the many ways we can assist. In the years ahead, I will be working with some of you, or most of you, or all of you, to achieve our CEO's objective, Mr. Ash Mufare objective, to eradicate hunger and starvation. God bless you all, and I hope to see you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Brent.
you.
Thank you, Vidal. Thank you. We will
And,
meet again.
and before you go, I would say that the young lady, Vinette, is my sister.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
he's the one that brought me into ONPASSIVE
Yes.
years ago. And I also want to say how much I appreciate her.
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brother
Thank
Vittel,
you.
I
Yeah.
love you because you love your sister. You are so proud of this, your sister. Chai, God. Hey, Papa.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
I wish I can
Yes.
have a family like this that will love me as you love your sister. May the Lord be with you guys. Protect your entire family, your grandchildren, grandkids. In Jesus'
Amen.
name. Amen.
And we
also,
love you, Dr. Benny.
thank you also.
We love you,
We love
Dr.
you.
Benny.
There's also Sister Mabel, another gentleman, and he's in, but he's always in the background there. His name is Mr. Joseph Miller.
Joseph Miller.
Yes, he's the one that keep us grounded spiritually, mentally, every day. I want to say thank you, Joe, for all your support.
Joseph Miller. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Joseph Miller. Would you like to say something, Joseph?
Well, I'll jump in and say this is great today. And I mean, not just Vittel's presentation, but just being able to have Brent Johnson here. Really appreciate that. It was just so informative, and obviously will be something that is important for us moving forward if we get involved in this. And it just was great. I'm just very happy to have heard what I heard today, and it was a good day. So, hey, don't forget, we got OP 360 later on, folks.
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother John. Yeah, Brother Joseph Miller, would you like to say something to us?
Yes. Thank you for your individual contributions. This really, for me, is a blessing. Our CEO has placed us in the position that we are, 1.4 million of us. The whole objective is for each of us to individually bless the entire world. Thank you. And Mr. Johnson, thank you for your insight. This will reach countries that needed this help. And for each of you individual, thank you for also recognizing OBLESS. OBLESS means that we all individually contribute towards the blessing of the others. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Blessings,
Thank you.
blessings, blessings, abundant blessings.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Joseph. Thank you. I think I see Dr. Yvonne Monday. Dr. Yvonne, are you there? Would you like to say something to us? Dr. Yvonne?
I am here, but I will be off camera because I'm helping my mom, please.
Okay, no problem.
All right. Yes, I was partially listening because I can help my mom every morning. But thank you guys so much. And, when we come together in this huge global family, there is nothing that can stop us from getting to where we want to be. And in this case, if we don't eat, you can't do anything. You can't function. And I just want to thank Brother Vittel for bringing this technique of freeze drying to all the webinars. And this is
Yes.
the best thing to do, because
Yes.
we see children all over the world, not just children, families, but if you see a little baby, 2 years old, eating from the garbage. Meanwhile, we have been created and endowed with everything, abundance. There's everything. Why would a child go hungry? Why? When we are here, like our CEO said, to stop the corruption. It's not just financial corruption. It is a corruption that has to do with food. Food is so important. If a child doesn't eat, a hungry child is an angry child. We have been endowed with so much, but there is the politics of food, taking food and children and families to play, and then children are dying every day, and social challenges are being caused every day that are supposed not to be there at all. But we are here to change that. And Mr. Ash Mufareh is leading the way, and we are following. There is nothing and absolutely nothing that we cannot do. We are bent on doing that. Thank you so much, Brother Smart, and I'm grateful that you're spreading this gospel of freeze drying to all the rest of the world, and we get to also take it and also begin to see what we can do in our communities, coming together to begin to put together resources that we can buy those freeze drying machines. It's so important that we do that. Thank you guys so much for being here. I am happy to see Mr. Damuda, and tomorrow he's going to be on fire for the children. Thank you guys so much. I love you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Yvonne. Thank you so much. Yeah, and Mabel, would you like to say something before we close?
Well, I just want to thank these two brothers, Vidal and Brent, for gracing our meeting and empowering us. And we have learned a lot. We know a lot. And this is really, we have been talking about our purpose and our passion and what we can do. But this is really a path forward, how to bless humanity, how to feed the hunger with this very machine. So Brent Johnson, you are really sitting at the gate of this, this humanity movement with these machines, and really to feed the, to help the hungry. So really thank you for staying on in this company for the last 10 years to see it prosperous, and it was going to go further and further to touch many, many lives in the world. So really thank you for persevering from did you say 15 machines to now today 5,000 machines every month. So God bless you with even enhancing the technology to make it maybe less hours to freeze it, to better the technology to hasten the freezing process. Most of all, Brother Vidal, you are the catalyst. You are the one that's going to connect us to Brent, and we thank you for also staying on and embracing the mission of ONPASSIVE, and we embrace this together. I'm really, I ask so many questions is because literally when the apples come, this is one of the warehouse that I would like to create, like to have, to put all these machines there and start collecting the food and then freezing them and sending it out to places, to the refugee camps, to places that need all this food. So we hope the next step for OPassion is that the like-minded people of the same passion can come together to make things happen. This is what I want to say. So thank you, Jeannie.
Sister Mabel, before you go,
Yes.
I'd like to say hi to Sister Sharon Williams, calling all the way from Jamaica.
Wow. Yes.
Sister Sharon, thanks for your support, my dear.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vittel, and it was a wonderful presentation. And thank you again, Mr. Brett Johnson.
Okay.
All right. So thank you everyone. It was really a great evening, and thank you so much, Brother Vittel, for bringing your friend Brent to share with us about the freeze drying. And we are really looking forward to be able to have the machine so that we can do what we can do for the less fortunate. Yeah. So we would really like to do, our passion here, as I mentioned earlier. We really would like to follow what Mr. Ash Mufareh wants, and his heart is also our heart to run this oblast together, to be able to eradicate poverty and to uplift humanity. So that's why we are all gathered here tonight. And I'm so blessed and I'm so pleased and I'm so thankful for the two brothers to share with us tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. Good night. And we hope to see both of you again. Brother Vittel and Bran, let's see you again. Thank you. Thank you so much.